Alright, class, fine. Girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, very warm good evening to one and all. Myself Shabnam from the code Ark, and we all welcome you at the day 23 of our Python SQL Django series, as well as the day 61 of our overall full stack web development series, which is yet left to cover up SQL, Django, React, Angular, and a GitHub. Yeah, good evening everyone. Fine. Okay, let's have a quick recap of what we have learned in the lecture last time, which was all about the exception handling. Am I right? We learned basically the difference between errors and exceptions. Am I right? We learned to understand how to write the doubtful code in a try block, which is accompanied by its respective except or except blocks. Am I right? Block or blocks, let me say. Alright, now when you have come here for the day next, the other day, people, we expect from you that you give your hands on, you do some little bit or a good amount of practice back at your places and then join. Alright, because practically making your hands dirty with coding, that is very, very important. Alright, if you indeed aspire to work as a full stack developer in many of the reputed companies outside, to make your own hands dirty with coding, that is actually a necessity. I hope you got my point. Is that okay? Fine. So that's another thing. Okay, somewhere we were also talking about the try, except and the else block. Am I right? Where else part of the try except is executed if there were no exception found in the code. Is that correct? In case if there were no exceptions found in the code. And then finally block as well, and finally is executed irrespective of exceptions were found or occurred or they were not occurred. Is that okay? All of us here? Okay, and I'm all set to go here. Fine. So these were the simple codes that I think we were trying that day. Okay, something like that. This is try with except. Okay, this is try except. This was something but how to raise an exception intentionally. Am I right? Fine. Okay, the class today we're going to talk about one of the most awaited topic, that is connectivity of Python program with database or MySQL database. Is that okay? Now I'm going to use the backend today as MySQL or MySQL. For those who are interested, they can even try their hands on with MongoDB. Alright, in case if we are on time and we complete the syllabus before time, we will also introduce you Python connectivity with MongoDB or MongoDB as a utility itself. Alright, so without wasting our time anymore, a single minute more, let's give it a start. A prerequisite for the lecture today, in case those who are coding along with us, if you are also practicing coding along with us, then you need to install MySQL back at home on your respective laptops and desktop. You can simply type like download MySQL, and the first link that comes to you, please select it for Windows or Mac, download it and install it. Okay, otherwise how to download MySQL, how to install it along with its utility, workbench and all, we will talk all about it respectively in MySQL course. Okay, not today, because this is Python and not MySQL. We will also restrict the coding of queries on MySQL up to Python limit. What we require, only that much. Okay, fine. Alright, so here we go, please. This is MySQL installed at my system. Okay, if you could see, let me start here right from the scratch. Fine, so this is MySQL. Right? Okay, now when you open MySQL, you will have a utility here called as MySQL Workbench. Now this is actually that GUI in MySQL which allows us to create a table and a database. Right? I hope by far or so far you would have understood what are we doing with MySQL. For those who don't understand MySQL, for those who have never heard about MySQL, first of all, it's a backend tool. People, it's a backend tool. It allows us to write query and create tables and databases. Okay, tables and databases are such an organization where we can store data, manipulate data, retrieve data. Alright, once again to remind you, we are limiting the use of MySQL and SQL databases today only up to Python topic of connectivity, because we are more interested in the connectivity code rather than creating tables today. Alright, fine. So this is workbench of MySQL. The moment you open workbench to create database, the first question it asks you is, let me wait here for a moment. Okay, this is MySQL getting launched and open in front of you. और सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन आपको पूछेगा, okay, let it take its time, let me continue. Who are you? Who are you? That means your authentication detail or the credential details. That says MySQL is an account protected application. Alright, I repeat again, MySQL is account protected application. This is not like your Word, Excel, PowerPoint or your Notepad or any other application that you click to open and it is ready to use. Once you launch MySQL or MySQL Workbench, before you could use it, you actually need to log in. Alright, now how to log in I'll show you. In whose account to log in? As of now, I don't have any local account here. So I will log in into administrator's account, who is a root user in MySQL. We understand admin, right? Like your WhatsApp groups have admin people. The easiest example that I can give you as of now, okay, the user with high privileges, he can add more users, he can delete user, he can edit account details and all. Right? So many, or let me say all such account protected application have at least one user account when you install it. That is administrator's account. Alright, please acknowledge somebody in the chat section. Are you understanding what am I talking? Right, because there is a quite silence in the chat area here. Right, if you say yes or no, we would be grateful to you. Alright, so any account protected application have at least one account to start with, and that is always an administrator account. Okay, so let's see how to access this admin account and how to log in into MySQL. Okay, fine. So first of all that we need to do in order to enter into MySQL is create a connection. Fine. This connection contains the account detail in which you want to log in. Okay, fine. So I click on this plus sign, although there are many shortcuts here also to create connection. There are menus available here also to create connection, but this is the one most handy. I click here. Okay, this simple plus sign where you can see my mouse pointer right now. Good, thank you. It asked me for some connection name. This name can be any name. It can be as simple as ABC or XYZ. I am writing the name as day 23. Okay, you don't have to change any standard setup here. All this is perfect unless and until any networking issue happens. हाँ, जब तक कोई जो बच्चे आप में से हिंदी समझते हैं, जब तक सारी चीज़ें ठीक ठाक है, कोई नेटवर्किंग इशू नहीं आता है, ऑलराइट, आपको ये सब चीज़ों के साथ छेड़खानी करने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. एवरीथिंग इज़ क्वाइट परफेक्ट. The user account in which you are trying to log in is root. Root is a default name of administrator in in SQL. Alright, this point should be noted, people. If you can't remember for always, root, this is by default the username of administrator, and you will find this name in many applications. Even Linux makes use of admin name as root. हाँ, आपको नहीं अच्छा लगता है ये नाम, आगे जाकर भी चेंज हो सकता है, बट वी आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन दोज एडिटिंग्स एंड मैनिपुलेशंस एज ऑफ टुडे. क्लियर? फाइन. सो यूजर नेम इज रूट, एंड विदाउट मेकिंग एनी चेंजेस आई जस्ट क्लिक टू टेस्ट कनेक्शन. फाइन. एनी सच अकाउंट exist also or not. For verification it asks me for the password. My password is 1234. This password we set to admin account right at the time of installation. Alright, हम और आप जब MySQL इंस्टॉल करेंगे या कर रहे होंगे, ये पासवर्ड तभी सेट किया जाता है. For those who have downloaded and trying to install now, you will encounter one step as admin password setup. Is that okay? Fine. Even if you have forgotten the password, there are ways to alter it, reset it and all. Again, let's not jump into MySQL today because this is not a MySQL class. Okay, fine. So I say okay. If things are fine, it gives me this acknowledgement message. Just read the title here, successfully made the connection with the username root. We say okay, okay, and you have the connection all ready and set here to log into. This is day 23, my connection. But you could see that you have yet not logged into MySQL workbench. You have yet not logged into it. Fine. So I just click to it. And this is the interface of MySQL workbench right in front of you. Alright. Fine. The left hand side panels will show you schemas. Schemas are nothing but the databases which are available. Somewhere I have a database called as ABC. Somewhere I have a database called as day 1. Somewhere I have a database called as product, practice, revision, etc, etc. But I want to create a new database here. So let me write a query. Okay, now for those people जिनके लिए ये query का concept बहुत नया है, जो SQL कभी नहीं देखे हैं, never mind, queries are nothing but commands. Commands that we use to create tables and databases. Okay, SQL queries are nothing but commands that we make use to create tables and databases. Right, now before we create a table, we first need to create a database here. Come on, those of my friends who are coming here from the background of MySQL or SQL or Oracle can also guide me how to create a database. We simply write create database and the name of the database. Okay, let me write the name of the database as database 1. Okay, wherein this name can be any other name, but we simply write the database 1. Is that okay? Semicolon in the end is only to terminate the command, that is end the query. I hope you got my point. If you have remembered, my friends, from JavaScript, we used to write semicolon in the end. That was to end the line. Likewise, MySQL also makes use of semicolon in the end to end the command or terminate it. Fine. In order to run this command, you can see the yellow button right on the top. And if you don't want to use this button with your mouse, you can always use Control Enter from the keyboard. And you see in the action output box somewhere in the downside, green tick indicates that this query executed successfully. Otherwise, you will have a red cross indicating there was some error. Okay, people, please stop me in case if you're not understanding. I'll continue teaching and speaking until I find any message here in the chat section asking doubt. आप जब तक क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछेंगे, we will be under the impression that you are understanding thoroughly and smoothly. Okay, now suppose if I run this query again one more time, it fails. And if you could see the reason why it failed, can't create because this already exists. Understood? Fine. So there are 2-3 ways now. Either you delete and create it again, or you change the name, or if you check if the database already exists or not. Right? So all these things we will do when we will learn MySQL. As of now, I'm happy with the database 1. Okay. Now, in order to make this database active, we just run the query called as use database 1. The reason why, because there are so many schemas here. When you create a table, it will definitely ask you this table must be created inside which database. Okay, please make this point noted. You can't just create a table anywhere. Before creating a table in MySQL, you need to specify the table must be a part of which DBMS or RDBMS or a database at least. Okay, need not to break your head. What is RDBMS? What is DBMS? We have all these stuffs coming up in a MySQL component of our full stack series. Is that all right? Fine. So use database 1. I executed by saying Control Enter, and the query runs successfully. Alright, fine. If you want to see, you will have this database here as well. Okay, in case if you don't find the created database, just refresh it. Okay, you could see next to schema there is this sign of refresh. I just click to it. Okay, and you find the database 1. Okay, this database has no table. Fine. So this is a query to create a table in MySQL. Come on, this is a query to create a table in MySQL. We say create table and the name of the table. Let me say the name of the table is student. Okay, now remember one thing, whenever we create a table, we need to first create a column and then create rows. Okay, this structure, organization, or let me say architecture of column and row together is called as a table. Table is a neat and an organized way to store data. ओके आप में से जो लोगों ने कभी भी डेटाबेस या टेबल नहीं देखा है या नहीं बनाया है या नहीं यूज़ किया, नेवर माइंड. In case if you have ever seen how Excel sheet stores data, that is again in the form of rows and columns. Okay, so the data which is stored in Notepad as a lines and paragraph, data which is stored in PPT as slides or maybe again paragraphs, data which is stored somewhere in a Word file like a document, that becomes too tedious to understand the data and the components of data. So we better prefer to keep the data organized in rows and columns. That is called as nothing but a table. Okay, so we are creating a table by the name student, round parenthesis, inside which we write the names of the column the table will have and the data types of this column. Okay, now SQL is very rich. It has a lot of data types to support, but we are going to deal with only two data types. One is integer, another is string. So let me show you how to use these two data types and how to create columns. Okay, first column, I want ID, which is of the type integer. I hope you got my point. INT, that's to declare it as integer. You can also use the data type number. Fine. Student name, or let me write S name, is the name of my column. You can't write string here. Instead, let us make use of varchar. Yes, Rajiguru, table names are case sensitive. In fact, entire MySQL is case sensitive. I hope you got my point. In fact, you are asking a very important question here. Table names, column names, everything is case sensitive. MySQL and SQL, they both are case sensitive. I hope you got my point. Concept clear till here? Fine. ठीक है. Varchar. Varchar is a data type in MySQL to declare a string. ठीक है. Varchar is a data type to declare a string, and whenever we declare the string, we also mention the length of the string. So I have restricted here by writing 10 that name cannot be longer than 10. Is that okay? Name cannot be longer than length of 10. You're not satisfied with that, please increase the length. We can always update these characteristics of the table later also using alter query. All these things we will be learning very, very shortly in the upcoming module MySQL, or whenever the module happens to start. Is that okay? Fine. So as of now, my table contains only two columns, ID of the student and name of the student. I would like to tell you, no table is created like this. Every table has a primary key. Every table has some constraints inside. Again, to remind you, now since we are not dealing with SQL, we are not learning tables and databases, so we keep these formalities aside. ये सब फॉर्मेलिटी को बाजू में रखते हुए हम आगे बढ़ते हैं, बिकॉज वी एम टू जंप इनटू पाइथन एज सून एज पॉसिबल. ओके, fine. Font size and all, everything readable, I hope so. If not, let me know, I'll increase it. चलिए, control enter and it says the table created. You can see the green tick mark here. Fine. I try to create it again. Fine. It fails. It says that this table already exists. I hope you got my point. Fine. Anyways, it has created. I'm happy with it. Now let me see how to open this table and check. Okay, so this is the next query I'm using here. First one was create database, then use database, then create table. I want to see what exists right now in the table, what data exists right now in the table. So we simply write select. Okay, select. 1 minute please. I'm using shortcut to increase the font size. If it works well. Okay, never mind. Fine. Okay, so select star from the table name. Okay, where star or an asterisk here means all the columns of the table. I hope you got my point. Is that okay? Select all the columns of the table. Give me a moment. Is that fine, or you want me to do that again? It's working. Hold on, please, hold on. Okay, fine, I go ahead, please. Is that okay? Fine. So select star from student. Only for some time we are working here. We're going to switch to Python back quick. Fine. Alright. If you could see here, it says me in the result grid that the table is open and these are the columns. But there is no data in the table because we have not inserted. Okay. So this is the next query that we are running now. Insert query on almost the last query. Let us see how to put the data and store it inside the table of a database. Okay. So we say insert into table and name of the table, that is student in my case. If the name of your table is something like product or employee or customer, then please write the respective name. So insert into followed by the table name in the syntax, that is student. Values is going to be data. Okay, now column wise insert the value. So the first column is ID. So say this is ID number 1, comma. Second column is the name. Name is a string. It should be inserted in a quotes. Inserted in a quote. Single, double, both works. The choice is yours. Right? Say name of the student is Raj. Okay, so let me run this query. And I come to line number 4 and select star from the table. I run this query again. Fine. So this time the table is opened with one row, correct? So similarly, let me edit this query only and change the values here. Roll number 2 is not Raj. Let me say this fellow is Mr. Mukesh. Control enter and I run the query and I open the query and see it again. Okay, so the second fellow is Mukesh. This way I'm entering only 3 to 4 records. Number 3, he is Mr. Rajesh. And lastly, number 4, say this fellow is Mr. John. Okay, only for my satisfaction whether these 4 records have been inserted in the table or no, I open this table and check again. Fine, so this is how my table in SQL looks like. A good practice is always to save the changes by running the query, that is commit. Okay, how does commit work? How does rollback works? All these questions I'll answer you again in our MySQL module. So let's not go into the depth of SQL today. We will try to restrict the use of SQL only up to the use of Python. Is that okay? All of us here? Fine. So this is all what we have executed. In case if you find this font short, let me quickly paste it into Notepad and show you. Okay. Hold on. Okay, a quick summary of what we did. A quick summary, people. What we did. Alright, we first created a new database. But before creating a table in that database is a collection of table, people, remember. Okay, I will let me write here. Database is a group of, or let me say group of. Okay, group of tables. What is related, what is not related, we are not spending our time here today. But a database is a group of related tables. Okay. So before creating a table in the database, we first make that particular database active by using the use query and the name of the database. We created a table. A table can have any number of columns, but you need to mention the data types of the column. Considering this table has no constraint like a primary or a foreign key, I simply create a table student with two columns. One is ID of the student and another one is a name of the student with the respective data types, number and a string. Correct? Fine. Then we started inserting rows in the table one by one. Total 4 records. Records are nothing but the rows. Total 4 records are inserted in our table. And to verify whether these rows have been inserted or not, we simply executed the query select star from. Okay, star always stands for the column. If you never wanted all the columns of the table, you can write the name of the column here also. Like I just want ID column to be selected. So see what happens. Right, so the table is open but not with all the column. The table is open only with the name of the mentioned column in the query. Guys, please acknowledge this point. Is it clear or not? I just wanted name from the table, student names. So this time table is open only with the name column. Is that okay? You have to see the output here right in the middle, that is the result grade. Right, so that proves asterisk when you write, that means that indicates all the columns. So even if there are 2 columns or 20 columns or 2000 columns, all will be opened. Is that fine? All of us, finally, after half of the lecture is gone, we move to Visual Studio Code. You know why? Now I want to write a Python program and connect. Guys, I want to connect. Clear, ma'am. Thank you, Raji Guru, for that. And others also, I hope it is clear. Okay, we want to connect that table here right in my Python. I hope you got my point. Fine. Now, why would anyone connect? What will happen? What are the advantages of connection? You know, all these things we'll be answering one by one right in the session here today. But before that, try to understand. Okay, 1 minute. This is a small document that I've kept it prepared. Okay, you need one module of Python to be installed here. That's a package, people, which is called as MySQL connector Python. Okay, fine. Ye kam how to open the table data output. Where, Navin? Where? How to open the table data output? Where? But in Python or in SQL? In MySQL, that is with the select query. Clearer question, please. How to open the table data? That is nothing but the select query only. Hoping you are understanding. That's the best way to open, I can say, table data. Is that fine? Table data output, and that has been always shown in the result grid. If this is not the answer of your question, then elaborate your question a little more. Okay? Fine. People, we need to install a package here called as a MySQL connector. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. You simply have to open your command prompt. Just write cmd command prompt. Better that you open your command prompt with administrator. Okay, you can see run cmd as an administrator. Okay, so the command prompt is your right front. So MySQL means what? Select star from the table name, na Navin. Simple. If you want to open your data, table data. Okay. Good. So we are here to go. Alright. Fine. In case if you are working this at your place and you're finding any path setup issue, then let me know. I'll guide you in between how to do that. Okay. You simply have to write pip. This is Python, people. Python package installer. Okay. This is how we read in pip in Python. P for package, I for installer, P for Python. Package installer in Python. Alright, package installer in Python. Python comes with many packages, but not all of these packages are by default installed. Some packages you need to install them on your own manually. I hope you got my point, right? So Python install and the name of the package, that is MySQL connector Python. Okay, now it is going to show me it's already installed because I have already kept it installed. Enter. Make sure that you connected to internet at this time, because this particular package will be downloaded from net, official website of Python. where the packages are upgraded and updated and even newly created, right? So PIP reads the package directly from its web source, downloads it on your system, and then installs. Alright, for me it is going to show me after some time that is already installed, requirement satisfied. Right? आपको ये डाउनलोड करके इंस्टॉल करेगा. Somebody please acknowledge this is point clear or not. We are going to have a small part of PIP also coming up in the Python module. Alright, so requirement already satisfied. I hope you got my point. Fine. So you can also remove this and install it back again. I won't do that to save our time. So make sure this package in the backend is already installed. See, this is how the output looks like if it is not already installed. So first it says that it is connecting or downloading packages and the supporting packages. Then it says it is installing the particular package. And then finally it says that it is successfully installed. Alright, I'm working with MySQL connector 8. For you, I think it should be some updated one because I think it's quite a time I downloaded it and installed it. Is it fine? Alright. Okay, let me quickly come into my Visual Studio Code. The name of the package is MySQL connector or MySQL Python connector. I hope you got my point. But what we import here is, what we import here is MySQL.connector. Okay. For those who did not understand, I repeat it again. Import MySQL.connector. Okay, import MySQL.connector. People, I can see my Visual Studio Code is again working slow. What happens is, after a good time of our broadcasting is gone, some of our application slows down, and one of it is Visual Studio Code. Now suppose if this problem exists, so what I'll do is I will write the code in Notepad and simply paste here to execute. So that way we will save our time. Okay, note this point. Package का नाम था MySQL connector Python, but the module which we import is only MySQL.connector. Right? So firstly you just have to import this. Is that okay? And I click to run this. I hope so. It works quick. Okay, it's done. Fine. Now, once you have imported, you are ready to use any methods or functions from MySQL connector. So what is the step? You look how step by step it has to go. First we have to connect to our MySQL. जो बच्चे हिंदी समझते हैं, पहले तो पाइथन को MySQL इंजन से कनेक्ट करना पड़ेगा. कैसे कनेक्ट करें? MySQL dot connector dot connect. Okay, MySQL connector and connect. Oh, I hope you got my point. Guys, if you wait for a moment, if just you wait for a moment, I close my Visual Studio Code and I open again. Wait, people, wait. I'm here only. I'm here only. Just give me 1 minute spent. The rest half of the class will go smooth. Okay, fine. So mysql.connector.connect, this is the first thing that you need to do. You have to connect Python to MySQL engine. Okay, so now when you use the connect function, it asks you minimum 3 questions. First of all, host. That means what is the host name of your server? Alright, to connect to any backend engine people or the server in a client server architecture, you have to provide the IP address of the server. Now it's okay if you don't have the IP address, you can also write the host name. And the host name is most of the time localhost. Localhost means what? Me, myself, the same local system. You understand? Fine. Some people even can write the IP address in a different way. But if you're not aware, you don't want to deal with networking so far, it's okay. Just write the host name of the server is localhost. Fine. So this is the first question you need to answer to connect to MySQL server. Okay, if your server doesn't have any name, localhost is always an identifier name. Okay, fine. Who is the user account you want to log in into this server? Because MySQL is account protected. After connecting to it, you want to enter into a login into whose account? So that is admin's account. Fine. And what is the name of the administrator here? That is nothing but root. Okay. Now when I try to access admin's account, Python will say उधर जाके जब मैंने admin का account open किया भाई वो तो password मांगता है. So provide the password in the code. That is, password is a string, so I'm writing here in quotes, that is 1 2 3 4. Okay, this minimum details you need to provide when you connect your Python to MySQL server. Somebody please acknowledge this part, clear or not? These 3 minimum details you need to provide. These 3 minimum details you need to provide when you connect Python to MySQL server. Is that okay? Fine. So let me run the code up until here. Oh god, it is still slow. Okay, let me see if it works quick in idle. Okay, fine. Anyways, by the time it takes, till the time it takes, you will find the font size a little small, but let us compromise here, please. Okay, I'm writing this code in idle, people, and I'm just running this. Wait for a moment. ठीक है, fine people, I'm just running this. Okay, so it executed but there is no output. Now generally what happens when you try to establish connection of your Python with MySQL, people, this connect function, after successfully connecting to the server, returns the connection detail back to the program. Did you understand? After successfully connecting to the server, returns the connection detail back to the program. So let me accept in some variable say connection. Okay, let me accept in some variable say connection. At this time, if you try to print connection, you will find actually no data there. Okay, so let me say this is connection. I save this, I run this. I save it and I run it. Fine. So it actually says there is no output again. I hope you got my point. Fine. Okay. Even if you try to print connection. Okay. Even if you try to print this CONN. Okay. For those who can't see what am I typing here, आप में से वो बच्चे जो नहीं देख सकते हैं, see, this is what I'm doing. Okay, this is what I did. Fine. So I simply, whatever has been written to me by the connect function, I stored it in CONN in my variable connect. And if I try to print this, okay, guys, you have to wait, friends. You have to wait for a moment. Fine. Students, this is a call from the team. What we do here is we are as all 10 to 12 minutes left. So we will continue from here in the class on Wednesday. I hope you got my point. We are facing some technical troubleshooting in broadcasting. So we would ask you and request you to please cooperate with us. Okay, from here we will continue to Wednesday. Wednesday's topic is actually regular expression, but we will extend the class on Wednesday 15 minutes more. I hope I'm audible to you. So the class on Wednesday will start from, right, not 5 but 4:45. I hope you got my point here. Fine. So let me write here, please. Wednesday class shall start from 4:45 till 6. I hope you got my point. Would that be fine? All of us here, our Wednesday class that will start from 4:45 to 6 p.m. So we'll keep all these problems troubleshooted. So till then, please stay connected with us. And whatever your notes are pending, your files and all that, we shall send you soon. Hope you're understanding. Fine, because this is simply wasting your time as well. So in the next session, I'll make the title as SQL Part 2 or Connectivity with Python Part 2, and we will continue our discussion. Done. Fine. That's all. Please make sure that you're signing your attendance, entering your name and email address, and we are done for the day. Okay. Goodbye. See. Take care.